24 debate. We're looking at the shadow of Hosni Mubarak on Egypt's elections. We're sort of at the midway point between the first and second round. And this Tuesday, the protesters have once again packed Tahrir Square. As we said at the outset, for different reasons. Some, it's to protest the verdict from last Saturday, in which Hosni Mubarak and his interior minister were getting life sentences, but not his sons and 6 top security officials. Others who want Mubarak's last prime minister barred from running in the June 16th and 17th second rounds of the presidential elections, the first ever in Egypt's history. With us to talk about it from Cairo, Yahya Hamed, spokesperson for presidential candidate Mohamed Morsi. Welcome back. Welcome back as well to January 25th activist Dalia Hassan, who is with us in the studio, as is Alia El Mahdi, who teaches economics at Cairo University and is here in Paris on behalf of the University of Chicago, and Claudie Guibal of Radio France and France Info, France Culture, the main radio stations here in France, and was a correspondent in Cairo for many years. We were talking just before the break about various scenarios playing up in the run-up to that second round. Just a reminder for those who haven't followed the story in Egypt very closely, the reading last Saturday of the verdict in Egypt, there was a definite anger inside the courtroom. Now you see the scene. Activists scuffling with security. Only Mubarak and his interior minister sentenced. His sons and 6 top security officials were cleared. Now, I know that Dalia Hassan, for you there's anger and outrage because you think the others shouldn't have gotten off. The rest of the Arab world is looking at this story and thinking a former head of state's been tried in his own country. They see this as a good news story.
Because it's historical, and I think that Tunisian people just rose up again after this verdict to say that they really want to retry to get Ben Ali back to Tunisia. But I think for the Egyptian people, it doesn't mean anything at all, and because it's not enough, and because it's really unmeasurable with the crimes that has been committed. It's very illogical too, because they are just sentencing the boss and freeing the people who really did the crimes or ordered it. So this is completely illogical.
Claude Guibal, for you, is this a historic sentence?
Oh, well, the whole process is historical because nobody would have believed that President Mubarak could be, tried. But the problem is not only Mubarak, but it's his former interior minister, Abib al-Hadli, a man who was hated by the whole population. You know, he was the one who really symbolized all the brutality and the impunity of the former regime. So he is getting a life sentence, but the President Mubarak's sons are acquitted, and that's something Egyptian people don't understand, and they don't understand why the officials who have given the orders to kill the protesters during the uprising are acquitted. It's of course people are outraged, so it's not a matter of course it's historical, but if it leads to nothing, and for the Egyptian people it leads to only one thing, that nothing has changed. Impunity still prevails.
Ali Al-Mahdi, let me ask you about the timing of all of this. It happens between both rounds of the presidential election.
Very strange timing, I would say. But I have the feeling that it was taken into account that this timing would come where we are in the middle of the process of elections, so people would be more into the election process rather than into the verdict. So I don't know why this timing was actually decided. I guess this is the only explanation that I have. But let me put one additional point here with regards to the verdict. It's an unprecedented verdict in the history of the Egyptian, presidents or even royal families or whatever. But this is only the first stage of the judiciary system. So it's not over yet. Even the sons and the secret and the security officials, there is another stage of trial, so it's not over yet. even the two sons are not acquitted, because there are other crimes that they will be, judged for, crimes that were, supposed to have been done by them, and they will still be judged. So they're not free, actually. They are still in jail, all of them, except for maybe the 6 or 5 of them were acquitted. But if, in case, in the second round of the judiciary system, they are convicted, they will go in jail again.
Now, again, it's as we were saying at the outset, the specter. There were those trying them were appointed by the former regime, of course. There's those on trial appointed by the former regime, and again, we've been talking about the former General Ahmed Shafiq, Hosni Mubarak's last prime minister. He's seen as the face these days of the old regime to many. These protesters last Friday in Alexandria quite adamant that they'll return to the streets en masse if Shafiq were to be elected after that second round on June 16th and 17th. I believe the term they employ is felul, for somebody who is sort of considered to be the remnant of the old regime.
Absolutely, but I think that the real felul now are the revolutionists, are all these young people who made this, who created this, because they have been beaten and put in jail, and they faced every kind of violence and prison for 1 year and a half. And I think that the felul right now are the rest of the revolutionary figures. But because, as Claude Guibal said, all the old regime is still here. And we are not talking about all the countryside and all the infrastructures and all the responsible and technocratic responsible who are everywhere in the country. I mean, the epuration didn't start yet, and it's getting worse with this kind of verdict, and that's why also people are in the streets, because they felt that nothing's going in the right direction, and on the contrary, things are getting worse and worse.
All those people who said in the first round, really the vanguard of the people who rose up, who said before the first round, I'm going to tear up my ballot paper, I'm not going to vote for anybody. Are they having second thoughts now as the second round approaches and the prospect of Ahmed Shafiq's victory comes more into focus?
I think that people need to believe in something, and they need to take part in this operation, because it's very new to us. Lots of people, parents and grandparents, have never voted before. They went there and stood in queues and in lines just to practice this right. So I think people wanted to believe in this, and they said, we'll try, without imagining for a second that someone like Shafi or Amr Moussa or all these ex-regime figures will be really running for presidency. And now everyone is disappointed. We have a choice between an Islamic fascist and a military fascist. Most of the people in the streets and in the country don't want them, and now we are witnessing.
Hang on, fascist. Those are strong words there. What makes you say that both candidates are fascists?
Because when you hear Mr. Shafiq saying that he will treat everyone who will go to the streets to revocate or to protest against the results, he will put him in jail, or he will do death sentences for the revolutionaries who, if they ever dare to go back to the streets. I think that this couldn't be the conversation or the arguments of someone who wants people to vote for him. This is just incredible.
Let me, Yahya Hamed, at the end of part one, you were discussing with us the various scenarios of what's going to happen in the run-up to the second round. At this point in time, those protesters in Tahrir Square, those that don't support the Muslim Brotherhood, how confident are you of winning them over between now and the second round?
Let me first make it very clear that I'm against the word that my colleague has said, that there is Islamic fascist. Muslim Brotherhood is not fascist at all, and I guess this is the wrong word to be described for Muslim Brotherhood. So just to make sure and not to try to justify how modern are we, or the modern country that we are looking for with all the renaissance and the program that we are submitting in front of the people. And we have a highly educated experts in every field that the Egypt is looking for, and we are saying that the renaissance that we are looking for to achieve for Egypt cannot be achieved alone. with the Muslim Brotherhood or Freedom and Justice Party, but it can only be achieved with putting hands in hands with all the sects and different ideological frameworks and backgrounds in Egypt. Again, as you said, I guess that the verdict that was announced with all it's shocking to everyone in Egypt, has made us unite once more, and Egyptian people are known to be unite together under extreme pressure. So I believe that we are under extreme pressure. There is a very clear reproduction of the old regime. It's very clear that the verdict was shocking to everyone. We had a meeting 2 days ago with the martyrs family, and you cannot believe how emotional was the meeting, that they said during the verdict we understood, or we believed then, that our kids and our boys and our girls have been really dead. We were waiting for the verdict in order to make sure that we take our revenge back with the constitution, with the law. But right now, I guess that they feel under extreme injustice. So people in Tahrir Square, we have been there. Dr. Morsi went to Tahrir Square 2 days ago, and I guess the Tahrir Square right now is very clever. They understand that there are two sects right now, or two teams right now, those who represent the revolution. Even if we have disagreements with them, and I believe that it's normal to have disagreements with Muslim Brotherhood or Freedom and Justice Party, we have been working under real pressure for the last 10 or 11 months, and the other team represented by Mr. Shafiq and all the people and figures who represent the old regime. I don't blame those who gave their votes for Mr. Shafiq during the first round. Some of them really needs the stability. Some of them really needs to have their lifestyle back. But I call them for their patriotic ship right now in order to go and vote for the real Egypt, for the freedom of Egypt, for regaining our freedom that has been taken aggressively from the old regime. So people in the street right now, we are with them. For sure, we are making sure that we understand the request. That's why we said that we are supporting the isolation of Mr. Shafiq and bear all its consequences. We have said that the presidential institution will have vice presidents, doesn't belong to Muslim Brotherhood.
The point you made there in part one. Let me pick up on this with Ali Ahmadi. All those people who voted for Ahmed Shafiq, as Yahya Ahmed just said, a lot of them want a bit of stability.
Yeah, I guess so. And there is a point here. Yes, I guess both parties want stability, but they want stability from their perspective without, this Islamic society version, and some of them want stability with more a civil society background. So there are differences here, and I guess the same would apply to the two other, the third and fourth runners. I would imagine it would be very difficult for Mr. Hamdin Sabahi to be acting as vice president with Mr. Morsi, because their ideological orientation is totally different. I mean, we're talking about someone coming from a Nasserist, leftist, socialist background, and the Muslim Brothers are more liberal, are more open, and and more conservative at the same time.
And let me ask you, Claude Guibal, like me, you're French. You've seen presidential election runoffs where you don't like either candidate. That's democracy.
Yes, that is democracy, and that was interesting to see during the first round how Egyptian people were willing to exercise this democracy, this new rights. People were talking in the streets without knowing each other, asking each other, who are you going to vote for and why? And it was really interesting. They want to vote, they want to have a choice. What is now a question for me is that the Muslim Brotherhood have lost a lot of voters since the parliamentary elections in last winter. They've lost more than 5 million voters. And now, how can they guarantee the rest of the revolutionaries that they will share powers, that they will hear their voices? Because how will they give them confidence again? Because most of the revolutionaries don't believe in the Muslim Brothers anymore, because they think they have negotiated with the SCAF. And that could be interesting to know what kind of, like landmarks and guarantees they can give now.
All right, a word about the mostly secular activist, once again, who sparked the overthrow of Mubarak, one of Egypt's most prominent bloggers. Speaking to Foreign Policy's Sarah Topol wrote the following: after 80 years, the Muslim Brotherhood got 5 million votes. After 30 years of ruling, Mubarak got 5 million votes. Us, after a year and a half of dying, our candidates combined had 11 million votes. This is Mahmoud Salem, an influential blogger who writes under the handle of Sand Monkey. He says it's actually amazing that people who don't have their stuff together get this many votes. Let me ask you this question, Dalia Hassan. Do you regret the fact that you didn't get your stuff together earlier when it comes to this whole election process?
I think people regret that, actually, and I think this is why I think Muslim Brotherhood and the clever spokesman who were with us, I ask myself, why didn't they talk about this before? Why did they accept to put a candidate with these ex-regime figures? So the question will remain, I think, because right now the posture, the reaction to say we are backing the people in Tahrir for the isolation law to be put on Shafiq, but actually I think they have this global project about an Islamic nation, and this doesn't concern only Egypt. I think that it's a bigger project, and that's why people are having less confidence in them.
All right, Yahya Hamed, we're out of time, but what is the one thing you would say to voters at this point in that respect, in one sentence?
We respect your opinion. We understand that there were a lot of misconceptions that held around Muslim Brotherhood and around the FGP party. We admit that in light of the whole 11 months, we did do mistakes, and we apologize for those mistakes. And we believe that right now, all the Egyptian people are choosing between two contrary things. We are choosing between civil country and military country. We are choosing between a change and old regime, and we are choosing between real freedom and oppression.
Yahya Hamed, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us from Cairo. I also want to thank Dalia Hassan for being with us, Claude Guibal, and Alia Al-Mahdi. Thank you for being with us here in the France 24 debate. Stay with us. Coming up next, it's time for Business. Will Edwards joins us in a moment.